At our wedding, my maid of honor stood up and announced she's pregnant with my husband's child. The moment those words cut through the air, everything froze. The church was filled with golden light pouring through stained glass, but suddenly it felt cold, like someone had blown out every candle in the world. My bouquet felt like it weighed 100 pounds, and I couldn't hear the music anymore, only the pounding of my heart echoing in my ears. Guests gasped, some covered their mouths, and others craned their necks to see if they had heard correctly. My father, who had been watching me with watery eyes from the front pew, clenched the edge of his seat so tightly his knuckles turned white. My mother's hand darted to his arm, keeping him from rushing forward. And there she stood. My maid of honor, Lydia. The girl I had trusted since childhood, the one who knew every secret of mine, every heartbreak, every dream. She was supposed to be my sister in all but blood. She was supposed to stand beside me with pride, not tear my world apart. Yet there she was, wearing the same dusty rose dress we had picked out together, her chin lifted like a soldier going into battle. Her voice didn't shake. In fact, it rang clear, bouncing off the church walls for every guest to hear. I'm pregnant. Evelyn. And the father is Adam. Adam. My groom. The man waiting for me at the altar. The man I thought was my forever. The sound that followed her declaration was like a storm rolling through the church. Whispers swelled into gasps, gasps into shocked exclamations. My cousin muttered, "Oh my God," loud enough for half the room to hear. The string quartet faltered and then went silent completely. Adam's face drained of color until he looked like marble. His lips parted, but no words came out, only a stuttered breath that told me everything I needed to know. He couldn't even look at me. I forced my feet to move, one small step forward down the aisle, though every muscle screamed at me to collapse. My mind raced back, clawing at memories, searching for cracks I had ignored. The late nights at the office. The sudden phone calls he'd take in the other room. The moments I thought were wedding nerves but maybe had been guilt. My stomach twisted. "Lydia," I managed to whisper, my voice steadier than I felt. "What are you doing?" Her eyes flicked to me, glinting with something dark I had never seen in her before. She didn't flinch. Instead, she took a deliberate step closer to the altar, closer to Adam, and repeated louder, "I can't let this wedding happen. Evelyn, you deserve the truth." My brother Noah shot up from his seat so violently his chair screeched across the floor. His fists clenched as though he were ready to drag Adam away from the altar and end this farce himself. My sister, Grace, clung to his arm, whispering fiercely for him not to make a scene. But it was too late for that. The scene had already been made. Lydia's hand slid to her still flat stomach, the gesture carefully calculated, as if she were playing a role in some tragic play. "Adam and we didn't mean for this to happen. But we're in love, Evelyn. And now there's a baby." The words were acid on my skin. Love. With him. With her. My stomach churned, yet I forced my lips into something that must have looked like a smile, though it wasn't born of joy. It was sharp, brittle, like glass about to shatter. A few people in the crowd shifted uncomfortably at the sight of it, sensing that I wasn't about to break down the way they expected. Adam finally found his voice, a hoarse whisper that cracked in the still air. "Lydia, don't, please, not here." "Not here," she snapped back, her voice carrying across every pew. "When then, Adam? After the vows? On your honeymoon? When Evelyn has already tied herself to you, blind to what you've been hiding. She deserves to know now." Gasps turned into murmurs. Strangers stared at me with pity, some with curiosity, as though they were watching a drama unfold on stage instead of a life being torn apart. My grandmother clutched her rosary tighter, the beads clicking together in frantic rhythm as she muttered prayers under her breath. Adam reached toward me, but his hand froze midair, trembling before he could touch me. His eyes darted between me and Lydia, panic etched into every line of his face. He tried again to speak, but his words tangled into silence. And that was the moment I realized I wasn't going to collapse. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't even going to scream. Something colder settled in my chest, steadier, sharper. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theater, and Lydia had chosen the stage. What she didn't know was that I wasn't just her audience. I tilted my chin and let my eyes sweep across the church, letting everyone see my expression, letting them see I wasn't broken. "Not yet." "Oh, Lydia," I said at last, my voice calm, almost gentle but laced with steel. You poor, delusional little girl. The smirk she had been wearing faltered, just slightly, but enough for me to notice. And that flicker of fear in her eyes was all I needed to know that this story wasn't hers to control. Because she thought she had shattered me. But I had been prepared for this moment all along. My body felt like it was moving through fog, every step down the aisle heavier than the last. The golden glow of the stained glass no longer felt holy or comforting. It felt cruel, mocking me with its warmth. Guests whispered like a restless sea, their faces blurring into one faceless crowd of pity and shock. All I could think was, this is my wedding day. The day I had dreamed of since I was a little girl twirling in my mother's veil. And now, it was turning into something else entirely. Adam stood there at the altar in his tailored black suit, the one he'd picked out months ago while telling me, "You'll look like a queen beside me." His jaw was tight, his eyes darting from me to Lydia, unable to hold steady. I remembered how he had kissed my forehead last night and whispered, "Tomorrow everything changes for us, Eve. I can't wait to call you my wife." His words had sounded like a promise. Now, they sounded like a lie. "Evelyn," Lydia said again, her voice breaking the silence like a whip. She looked at me not with shame, but with triumph. She wanted me destroyed here, in front of everyone I loved. She wanted to burn the life I thought I had built, while she stood in the ashes pretending to be the one who really belonged beside him. I looked at her. Really looked. The dusty rose dress hugged her frame perfectly, her hair styled in soft waves, her makeup flawless. She had always known how to walk into a room and draw every eye, even when it was supposed to be my moment. She had been my best friend since kindergarten, the one who had promised we would grow old together as sisters of choice. And now, she was standing in my church, claiming my husband, my future, my happiness. "Why?" I whispered, not even sure if the word escaped my lips or if I only thought it. But Lydia heard me. Her gaze softened for the briefest second, almost like regret flickered across her face. Then her chin lifted, her eyes hardened, and she said firmly, "Because we love each other. And because I'm carrying his child." The congregation gasped again, louder this time. Somewhere behind me a woman muttered, "Shameless." My grandmother's prayers grew faster, her hands trembling over the rosary beads. Adam finally spoke, his voice cracking like glass under weight. "Lydia. Enough. Please." But Lydia wasn't done. She took a step closer to him, so close her shoulder brushed against his. Her eyes glistened with tears. Whether they were real or an act, I couldn't tell. "Tell her, Adam. Tell her you never loved her the way you love me. Tell her how you came to my apartment night after night. Tell her how you whispered my name." "No!" Adam snapped, his voice rising for the first time. His face was pale, sweat shining at his temple. "Stop lying." But his protest sounded weak, unconvincing, like he was drowning in his own guilt. I stood frozen in the middle of the aisle, my veil brushing against my face with each trembling breath. My brother Noah tried to move again, but Grace's grip tightened around his arm. "Don't," she hissed, though her own eyes were brimming with fury. It was then that I felt it, the shift inside me. The Evelyn who had walked into the church dreaming of vows and forever. She was gone. In her place was someone else. Someone colder, sharper, unrecognizable even to me. Betrayal wasn't just pain anymore. It was fuel. I let out a laugh, soft at first, almost like a sigh. It startled the guests closest to me. Lydia's confident posture faltered. She hadn't expected me to laugh. "You think you've ruined me," I said quietly, though my voice carried. The entire room stilled. "You think standing here saying this will shatter me into pieces. But you have no idea who you're dealing with, Lydia." Her smirk wavered. "You're just embarrassed. I understand. But the truth. The truth." I interrupted, my voice sharper now. My bouquet shook slightly in my hand, but not from fear, from the effort it took to hold myself steady when all I wanted was to scream. "The truth is, you betrayed me. The truth is, you slept with the man I was going to marry. The truth is, you are not the woman you pretend to be." I turned to Adam then, my eyes locking on him. "And you," I whispered, my voice trembling for the first time. "You couldn't even look me in the eye." His lips parted, his hands twitching as though he wanted to reach for me but didn't dare. "Evelyn, please. I can explain." Explain. I let the word roll off my tongue like poison. What are you going to explain? That my best friend suddenly forgot what loyalty meant? That my fiancé decided vows meant nothing before they were even spoken? Tell me, Adam, what's left to explain? The crowd murmured again, restless, uneasy. My father half rose, his face red, but my mother clutched his arm with both hands. Let her handle it, she whispered fiercely. And I would handle it. I had to. Because as much as this day was supposed to belong to Adam and me, it suddenly belonged to me alone. And they didn't know it yet. But I wasn't the one about to break. I could feel every pair of eyes in the church on me, waiting for me to collapse. Waiting for me to cry, to scream, to run out of the doors in shame. But I didn't move. I just stood there, my hands gripping the bouquet so tightly that the thorns inside the stems pricked through and dug into my skin. I didn't even flinch. The physical pain was nothing compared to the fire burning in my chest. Lydia stood tall beside Adam, as if she had already replaced me at the altar. My maid of honor. My childhood friend. The one who used to braid my hair before school, who used to sneak me snacks when I was grounded, who used to swear that nothing and no one could ever come between us. And yet, here she was, hand on her stomach, claiming my future as her own. Evelyn, she said again, her tone soft this time, almost pitying, but it made my skin crawl. You deserve the truth. You don't deserve to live a lie. I stared at her for a long moment, then let out a breath that sounded more like a laugh than anything else. The truth, I repeated, the words slicing the air between us. Funny how you suddenly care about the truth. Adam's face was gray. His lips trembled, his forehead shone with sweat, and he looked at me like a child caught stealing. He tried to step forward, but Lydia's hand on his sleeve stopped him. That touch, so small, so casual, broke something inside me. I remembered all the times I had ignored the signs. The late nights when Adam said he was too busy with work. The moments when Lydia dropped by, just to say hi, and somehow stayed for hours if Adam was home. The strange silence in the room when I entered. The quick glances they shared when they thought I wasn't looking. My stomach turned. I had excused it all. Because I trusted them. Because I loved them both. Because I thought loyalty meant something. Noah suddenly couldn't hold back anymore. He yanked his arm free from Grace and shouted across the church, "You disgusting traitor!" His voice cracked, his fists balled at his sides, his entire body trembling with rage. You slept with your best friend's fiancé? At her wedding? You have no shame. Gasps filled the church again, the crowd buzzing like angry bees. The pastor tried to quiet everyone, but it was useless. My wedding had already turned into a battlefield. Sit down, Lydia shouted back, her face flushing red. This has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me. Noah thundered. You hurt my sister. You humiliated her in front of everyone. If Adam were smart, he'd walk out of here right now and never look at you again. Adam flinched like Noah had slapped him, but he didn't move. He just stood there, frozen, torn between me and Lydia. I finally found my voice, quiet but steady. Enough. The word wasn't loud, but it carried. The murmurs died down, the shouting silenced, and even Noah stopped in his tracks. Everyone turned their attention back to me. I took a slow breath, the veil brushing my cheeks, the smell of roses clinging to the air. You know what hurts the most? I said softly, my eyes locked on Adam's. Not that you cheated. Not that you lied. But that you looked me in the eyes every single day and pretended. You promised me forever while you gave my best friend the pieces of yourself that should have been mine. Adam's lips parted. Evelyn, please, Don't, I interrupted, my voice sharp as glass. Don't say you can explain. Don't insult me with excuses. There is no explanation that makes this okay. Lydia smirked then, the tiniest curl of her lip. She wanted me broken. She wanted to see me fall apart so she could stand taller. But I didn't give her that satisfaction. Instead, I smiled, a slow, cold smile that sent a ripple through the crowd. It wasn't the smile of a bride in love. It was the smile of someone who had just realized she wasn't the victim anymore. Oh, Lydia, I said gently, almost like a mother scolding a child. You think you've won, don't you? Her smirk faltered. You think stealing my fiancé makes you powerful. You think carrying his child gives you control. But you've made one mistake, I continued, my voice steady and calm. You underestimated me. Lydia blinked, her confidence wavering for the first time. Adam shifted uncomfortably beside her, sweat dripping down his temple. I slowly lifted my bouquet, sliding my phone out from between the flowers. A ripple of confusion went through the guests. With one swipe, I connected to the Bluetooth system we had set up for the reception music. The speakers above us crackled to life, filling the silence with anticipation. "Before we continue this little performance," I said, my eyes never leaving Lydia's, "I think everyone should hear something." Her face drained of color. "Evelyn, what are you doing?" I pressed play. And then her own voice filled the church, loud and clear. "God, Adam is such an idiot. He doesn't even know I've been sleeping with his brother and his best man." The crowd erupted in gasps. My grandmother dropped her rosary. Someone in the back shouted, "What?" I stood tall, my smile cold, my heart steady. If Lydia wanted to destroy me in public, then public was exactly where I would destroy her. The air inside the church was so heavy, it felt like the walls themselves were holding their breath. My fingers tightened around the bouquet, petals trembling from the grip, but I didn't loosen them. My eyes stayed locked on Lydia, who was still standing tall at the altar like she owned it. Her face was calm on the outside, but I noticed the smallest twitch at the corner of her lips, a flicker that told me she wasn't as sure of herself as she wanted everyone to believe. I took a slow step forward, the train of my dress dragging behind me with a soft hiss across the marble floor. Each step echoed louder than the last, and with every inch closer, I felt the room's tension rise. The guests shifted in their seats, their whispers quieting until you could hear the faint crack of someone's rosary beads or the nervous cough of a man in the back row. Adam's eyes followed me, wide and desperate, but he didn't speak. He looked trapped, like an animal caught between the hunter and the crowd. His lips opened, closed, then opened again, but no words came out. I stopped just a few feet away from both of them and tilted my head slightly. "So this is your truth, Lydia?" My voice wasn't raised, but it carried through the stillness. "This is how you wanted everyone to know?" She lifted her chin. "It wasn't planned like this. But it had to come out sometime." I let out a breath that sounded more like a laugh than anything else. "Sometime," I repeated softly. "You mean today? My wedding day. In front of my family, in front of my friends, in front of everyone who came here to celebrate love. That was the time you chose." Her lips pressed together, and for the first time, she didn't have an immediate response. She looked at Adam, as if waiting for him to step in, but he didn't move. He just stood there, his face pale, sweat gathering at his hairline. I turned to him. "Say something," I demanded, my voice finally breaking through the restraint I had been holding on to. "Look at me and tell me this isn't true. Tell me she's lying." His throat worked as he swallowed, and when he finally spoke, his words were barely audible. "Evelyn, that's enough." The words left my mouth sharper than I intended, cutting him off before he could spin another excuse. "You had months to tell me the truth. You had nights, mornings, entire weekends where you could have sat me down and confessed. But you didn't. You stood here, ready to put a ring on my finger, ready to lie to me for the rest of my life." Adam's eyes dropped to the floor. He couldn't even face me. The church was dead silent, but the silence was loud. I could feel 200 pairs of eyes watching, waiting. Some looked at me with pity, others with awe, but none of them dared to speak. And then Lydia's voice broke through again, softer this time, almost like she wanted to sound kind. "Evelyn, you'll understand one day. You'll see that love doesn't follow rules. It just happens. Adam and we tried to fight it, but—" "Don't!" I snapped, my voice echoing. I took another step forward, and she instinctively stepped back. For the first time, her confidence cracked. "Don't you dare stand there and use the word love. Love doesn't destroy someone who trusted you with their whole heart. Love doesn't stab a friend in the back. Love doesn't sneak around in the dark while smiling to my face in the daylight." Her eyes widened. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Yes, you did." My voice broke, but not from weakness, because I wanted her to feel every ounce of the pain she had caused. "You meant to hurt me the moment you chose to open your door to him. You meant to hurt me when you looked me in the eye and promised you'd stand beside me on this day, while you were already standing in my place in his bed. Don't tell me this wasn't meant to hurt me. This was always about winning." The words hung in the air like smoke. Lydia's hand slipped from her stomach, her mask slipping, her face paling. Noah tried to lunge again, shouting, "I'll kill him." His voice cracked, filled with fury and helplessness, but Grace and my cousin held him back, their hands gripping his arms tightly. "Let me go. Let me go. Stop it, Noah," Grace hissed, her own eyes brimming with tears. "This isn't our fight." I didn't even turn toward them. My focus was on Lydia, who was now shifting uncomfortably under my gaze. "You thought I'd break," I said softly, almost like a secret. "You thought I'd fall apart in front of everyone. But here's the thing, Lydia. Sometimes the person you try to destroy is the one who already knows more than you think." Her brows furrowed, confusion flickering across her face. "What are you talking about?" I smiled then, not a soft smile, not one filled with love or forgiveness. It was sharp, dangerous, the kind of smile that made people lean forward because they knew something was about to happen. "I mean," I said slowly, savoring the words, "that you've underestimated me. You've always underestimated me." The church seemed to lean in with me. The whispers died. Even the children in the back stopped fidgeting. And for the first time since she stood up, Lydia's confidence wavered enough that she looked over her shoulder at Adam for help. But he didn't move. He didn't save her. He just stared at me, his jaw tight, his body frozen. That was when I realized I wasn't the one cornered anymore. They were. And the show they thought they were running was about to be taken out of their hands. The church felt like it wasn't even breathing anymore. 200 people sat frozen, their eyes darting between me, Lydia, and Adam. Even the air smelled different now, like roses mixed with fear, perfume mixed with betrayal. I tilted my head, looking at Lydia as if she were a stranger. And in that moment she was. The girl I once whispered secrets to in childhood sleepovers, the one who cried with me after my first heartbreak, the one who had promised to always stand by me. She wasn't standing by me now. She was standing against me, next to the man who was supposed to be mine. She swallowed hard. "Evelyn, you can hate me all you want, but it won't change the truth. I'm pregnant. And Adam is the father." Her words carried like a knife slicing open the silence. Guests stirred again, restless, whispering things they thought I couldn't hear. Shameful? Poor girl. What kind of best friend? Adam finally lifted his head. His voice barely a rasp. "Lydia, please stop." But she didn't stop. She stepped closer to him, her voice trembling now, but not from guilt, from something else, something that sounded like desperation. "Tell her, Adam. Tell her how you came to me when you had doubts. Tell her how you said you felt trapped. Tell her how you whispered that you loved me." The words sliced through me, but I didn't let my face break. Inside, my chest felt like it was collapsing, like someone had ripped the floor from under me. But outside, I stood straight, my eyes steady on both of them. Adam's head dropped into his hands. "Lydia, enough," he muttered. "This isn't the way." "Not the way," she snapped, her voice rising again. "What way, Adam? The way where you marry her and pretend this never happened? The way where I raise this baby alone while you play house with her? You think you can erase me? You think you can erase us?" Her voice cracked on that last word. The room shifted, some guests shaking their heads in disgust, others staring at Adam as though he were already guilty beyond redemption. I took another step forward, my dress brushing the marble. My voice was calm, but it carried power. "Tell me, Lydia. If Adam loved you so much, if this was so real, then why didn't he leave me? Why wait until now?" Her lips parted, but no words came. She faltered. I pressed on, my voice sharper now. "Because this wasn't love, was it? This was convenience. This was lust. This was betrayal dressed up in pretty words." The crowd murmured in agreement. A few women shook their heads, whispering to each other. Lydia's face flushed. Adam finally looked at me, his eyes wet. "Evelyn, I swear. I never meant for it to go this far." I turned my gaze on him. My heart clenched, but I forced my voice steady. "You never meant for it to go this far? Do you even hear yourself? You stood here, ready to marry me, ready to vow forever. And you call this," I gestured between him and Lydia, "a mistake that went too far? How many nights did it go too far, Adam? How many lies did you tell me while you were lying in her bed?" He flinched as if I had struck him. His silence was louder than any answer. Noah roared again from his seat, straining against Grace and my cousin's grip. "I'll break his face. Let me go. His voice cracked with fury, echoing through the rafters. Grace's own eyes were wet as she hissed back. No, Noah. Don't make this worse. My grandmother's prayers grew louder, her beads rattling. Santa Maria, Madre de Dios. And still I stood there calm. Steady. Because somewhere deep inside, I had already passed the breaking point. Now I wasn't breaking. I was watching them crumble. I lifted my eyes, letting them sweep across the crowd, across the altar, across the faces of the two people who thought they had destroyed me. And I smiled. Not out of happiness, not out of forgiveness. It was the kind of smile that made people lean forward, the kind of smile that promised something unexpected was coming. Oh, Lydia, I said softly, almost kindly. You really think you're holding the power here. But you don't even know the half of it. Her brows furrowed, confusion flickering. Adam stiffened, his eyes snapping to mine, like he suddenly understood something was wrong. The church leaned in with me. The whispers stopped. The silence turned sharp again, waiting. And I let the tension hang, savoring it, dragging it out until even Lydia shifted on her feet nervously. Because this wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. The silence inside the church stretched so long it almost hurt. I could hear the soft buzz of the overhead lights, the faint rustle of someone's dress as they shifted in their seat, even the nervous cough of an old man sitting near the back pew. But no one spoke. No one moved. It was as if the entire room had been frozen in that one impossible moment. I took a slow breath, tasting the heavy air filled with roses and candle wax. My voice came out low but clear, sharp enough to cut through the stillness. You both thought you could stand here and humiliate me. You thought this would destroy me. But you never realized something, did you? I'm not the one who should be ashamed here. Lydia blinked rapidly, her mask of confidence slipping for just a second. Evelyn. I lifted a hand to silence her, and to my surprise, she actually stopped talking. No. You've done enough talking. You've had your little performance. You wanted everyone to look at you, to pity you, to see you as some tragic victim of love gone wrong. But all I see, my eyes narrowed, is a liar who couldn't stand living in my shadow. Gasps rippled across the pews. I hadn't planned to say it, but the words felt right. They tasted like truth, sharp and bitter. Lydia's cheeks flushed crimson. That's not. It is, I snapped, cutting her off again. My voice was stronger now, steadier, and every word carried weight. You've always wanted what I had. My clothes when we were kids. My friends in high school. My family's attention. And now, you wanted my future. My marriage. My husband. I laughed bitterly. And you didn't even care that it meant stabbing me in the back to get it. The room hummed with restless whispers. A woman in the front row muttered, "Shameless girl," while someone else whispered, "God help her." Adam finally stepped forward, his face pale. His hand trembling slightly as if he wanted to reach for me but didn't dare. "Evelyn, please, don't do this. Not here. Not in front of everyone." I turned my gaze on him, and he froze under it. "Not here," I repeated, my voice dripping with disbelief. "Do you even hear yourself, Adam? Where exactly should I do this? Should I let you walk me down the aisle, say your vows, and pretend I'm the only woman in your life, while you've been sneaking into hers? Should I smile for wedding photos knowing you've already destroyed everything behind the lens? Where would be the right place for this conversation, Adam? Tell me." He flinched like the words had struck him across the face. He dropped his gaze to the floor, shame burning across his features. Lydia shifted, her voice rising, defensive now. "Don't put this all on me." Adam came to me. "He told me things he never told you. He said he was scared, that he wasn't sure he could marry you. Enough." The word shot out of me before I could stop it. It echoed through the church, sharp and final. For a moment, even the candles seemed to flicker. My brother Noah shouted again from his seat, his voice trembling with rage. "I swear to God, I'll drag him out by his collar. Just give me one chance, Eve." He fought against Grace's grip, but she held on tight, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, "Noah, stop please. Let her handle it." And I would handle it. I turned back to Lydia, my voice calmer now but every word deliberate. "You think you've won something here? That baby you're clutching your stomach over like it's a crown. You think it makes you powerful? No. Lydia. It makes you desperate. You've tied yourself to a man who doesn't even have the courage to look me in the eye right now. A man who would betray his fiancée in the worst way. And you call that love? Her eyes darted to Adam, panic flickering for just a second before she masked it again. It's not desperation. It's fate. You wouldn't understand. You're right, I interrupted, tilting my head slightly. I wouldn't. Because when I love, I don't destroy. When I give my heart, I don't do it at the expense of someone else's. That's the difference between us. You wanted to win. I wanted to build. The room fell still again, the weight of my words pressing on everyone. For a second, I almost forgot where I was. I wasn't standing in front of 200 people anymore. I was standing in front of the girl I had once called a sister, and the man I had once called my future. And both of them looked smaller now, weaker, like the truth itself had shrunk them down. I let the silence stretch, pulling it tighter and tighter until it felt like the whole church might crack under it. Then, slowly, deliberately, I smiled. Not the smile of a bride on her wedding day. Not the smile of a woman in love. But the smile of someone who had seen betrayal for what it was and decided not to collapse beneath it. "Oh, Lydia," I whispered softly enough that some people leaned forward just to hear me. "You poor, foolish girl. You really thought this would break me. But you've only just begun to see what I'm capable of." Her breath caught, her lips parting like she wanted to speak, but no words came. Adam shifted uncomfortably beside her, sweat dripping down his temple. And in that moment, standing in that church, surrounded by flowers and family and shattered dreams, I realized something important. They thought they had written the ending of my story. But they hadn't. This wasn't the end. This was just the opening act. Lydia's face twitched, just for a moment, and I caught it. That tiny flicker of fear, the smallest crack in her polished mask. She had walked into my wedding believing she was untouchable, believing the weight of her announcement would crush me in front of everyone. But now she looked uneasy. And Adam. Adam just stood there, pale as marble, his shoulders sagging like all the air had been pulled out of him. I didn't move closer this time. I didn't need to. My voice carried across the church with a calmness that didn't belong to the chaos around me. "Do you know what hurts the most, Lydia?" She blinked, her lips parting, but she didn't answer. "It isn't that you slept with him. It isn't that you're standing here claiming to carry his child. It's that you smiled in my face every single day while you were doing it. You came dress shopping with me. You helped me pick the flowers, the colors, the songs. You told me I deserved happiness. And the whole time, you were the reason I was never going to have it." Gasps rippled through the pews again. A few guests shook their heads, others muttered prayers. My aunt dabbed her eyes with a tissue, whispering, "Poor girl. Dios mío." Lydia's throat bobbed as she swallowed, her voice cracking when she finally spoke. "I didn't want to hurt you, Evelyn. I swear I didn't. But Adam loves me. Loves you." I almost laughed, but it came out as something darker, harsher. "Then why is he standing here silent, Lydia? Why isn't he shouting it for the world to hear? Why isn't he running to your side, holding your hand, protecting you from all of this? If this is love, then why does it look so much like shame?" The words landed like stones. Adam flinched, his eyes falling to the floor again, unable to meet mine or hers. Lydia's eyes widened, her confidence faltering as her hands slowly dropped from her stomach. I took a breath, steadying my voice. Love doesn't hide in shadows. Love doesn't creep around in the dark and then explode in the light to ruin someone else's life. What you two had, that wasn't love. That was betrayal wearing a mask. The silence was deafening. I could hear someone's phone buzz in their purse, a chair creak as an old man shifted. But no one dared speak. Everyone was waiting for what I would do next. Adam finally raised his head, his voice barely above a whisper. "Evelyn, please. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But I swear to you, it was never supposed to be like this. I never stopped loving you." My chest tightened, but I forced myself not to break. "You call this love?" My words were low, heavy. "Do you even understand what love means? You don't betray someone you love. You don't let them walk down an aisle blind, smiling, thinking forever is waiting at the altar. You don't shatter them in front of everyone they know." He opened his mouth but nothing came. His jaw tightened, and I saw tears threatening in his eyes, but I didn't care. Tears didn't erase what he had done. Noah roared again from his seat, his face red, veins standing out at his temples. "You're dead to me, Adam. Dead. You hear me?" He strained against Grace and my cousin, who both clung to him desperately, keeping him from charging forward. Grace's voice cracked as she pleaded, "Noah, please. Don't ruin her moment. Let her finish this." My father shifted, his body tense, but my mother still held his arm firmly. Her lips pressed together, her face pale but resolute. She wanted to protect me, but she knew this wasn't her battle. This was mine. I took another slow breath, my eyes sweeping the church. Rows of faces stared back at me. Faces of people who had come to celebrate joy, now witnessing devastation. But in their eyes, I didn't see pity anymore. I saw something else. Respect. Admiration. Strength reflecting back at me. I lifted my chin. "You wanted to humiliate me," I said to Lydia, my voice steady. "You wanted to steal everything from me. But all you've really done is reveal yourselves. Everyone sees you now. Not as lovers. Not as victims. But as liars. As cowards." Lydia shook her head, her voice breaking. "You don't understand. It just happened. We didn't mean for it to." I cut her off. "No. Don't you dare use that excuse. Cheating doesn't just happen. Betrayal doesn't fall out of the sky. Every moment you snuck around, every time you lied, every kiss, every whisper, it was a choice. Both of you made a choice. And today I make mine." The crowd leaned in, waiting, the tension so thick it pressed against my skin. Lydia whispered, "What choice?" I smiled then, slowly, deliberately, the kind of smile that made people shiver without knowing why. "The choice to end this my way. Not yours." Her face paled. Adam's brows furrowed, his confusion evident. But I stayed calm, steady, as though I had been rehearsing this moment for months. Because the truth was I had. And they were about to find out just how much I already knew. The church was silent again, but not the same kind of silence as before. This one was heavier, thicker, as though everyone could sense that something was shifting. People leaned forward in their seats, their eyes wide, waiting to see what would happen next. I could feel every gaze burning into me, but I didn't flinch. My body was trembling inside, but outwardly, I stood still, my chin lifted. Adam finally broke the silence. His voice was shaky, desperate. "Evelyn, please. I know I made mistakes, but you have to believe me when I say I still love you. What Lydia is saying, it's not the whole story. I swear, I never wanted this to happen." The word love hit me like glass shattering across the floor. I remembered the nights he'd held me close, the times he kissed my forehead, promising me forever. I remembered how he used to tuck strands of hair behind my ear and whisper, "You're my everything." And now here he was, standing in front of me, begging for forgiveness in the same breath that carried the taste of betrayal. I tilted my head, my voice quiet but steady. "You say you love me. Then tell me, what kind of love lets a man crawl into another woman's bed while his fiancée sleeps alone? What kind of love whispers vows of forever while hiding a secret like this?" He swallowed, his lips trembling, but he had no answer. I turned my gaze to Lydia. She looked rattled now, her fingers twitching against the bouquet she held, her lips parted but unable to form words. Her confidence was slipping. "Do you know what I find almost amusing, Lydia?" I said slowly, dragging out each word. "You thought this day, this church, these people, you thought they would be my stage for humiliation. But look at you." Gasps echoed through the room again as Lydia's cheeks flushed red. She shook her head quickly, her voice breaking. "No, no, you don't get it. Adam came to me. He told me things he never told you. He said he felt trapped, like he couldn't breathe. Stop lying." I snapped, and my voice rang so loud it startled even me. The crowd jolted, whispers exploding instantly. If Adam loved you so much, if he really wanted you, then why is he standing here silent? Why isn't he defending you right now? Why isn't he choosing you? I let the words hang in the air, the tension so sharp it hurt to breathe. Adam looked down, shame written all over him. Lydia blinked, her lips trembling, and for the first time, she seemed small. My brother Noah shouted again, struggling against the hands holding him back. "Answer her. Go on. Tell everyone the truth, you coward." His voice cracked, tears of rage glistening in his eyes. Grace clung to him, her own face streaked with tears, whispering, "Please, Noah, she's strong. Let her do this." I could feel my father's stare burning into me from the front row, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles looked bone white. My mother's hand rested firmly on his wrist, keeping him seated, her own face lined with fury and heartbreak. I turned back to Lydia, my voice quieter now, steadier, but more dangerous. "You see, Lydia, I've known you my whole life. And if there's one thing I've learned about you, it's that you can't keep your mouth shut when you think you've won. You always brag. You always overplay your hand. And that, my dear, is exactly why you've already lost." Her eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" I smiled then, slow and deliberate, the kind of smile that carried secrets. The guests stirred again, the tension climbing like a wave about to crash. "You thought I didn't know," I whispered. "You thought you could stand here and shock me. But the truth is—" I paused, letting the silence drag, stretching it so long that even the children in the back stopped fidgeting. "I've known more than you think. Much more." Lydia's face paled. Adam's eyes snapped up to me, panic flashing in them. He opened his mouth but no sound came. The church leaned in as one, the whole room pulled forward by invisible strings, desperate to hear what I would say next. I took a step closer to the altar, my voice low but crystal clear. "This isn't your stage anymore, Lydia. It's mine. And if you thought you humiliated me today—" My smile widened, sharp as a blade. "You're about to see what real humiliation looks like." Her breath caught, her body stiffening, panic flashing across her eyes. Adam's hand twitched at his side, his entire body trembling. And me? For the first time that day I felt steady. In control. Powerful. Because the trap they thought they had set for me was nothing compared to the one I had already set for them. Lydia's lips parted, but no words came out. Her face had drained of color, and for the first time, she looked cornered. Her hand twitched against her stomach like she was holding onto the only weapon she had left, her supposed pregnancy. I took another step closer, my heels echoing against the marble floor like a drumbeat in the silence. Each click made the air heavier. My bouquet trembled in my grip, not because I was weak, but because every ounce of rage I had buried for months was pressing against my skin, begging to be released. "You thought this was going to be your day," I said quietly, but my words carried across the church, sharp enough to slice through the murmurs. "You thought I would break. That I would run away in shame while everyone pitied me. But you've underestimated me, Lydia. You've always underestimated me." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed hard. You don't know what you're talking about." A slow, humorless laugh slipped from my lips. "Don't I? Because from where I'm standing, you look terrified." Gasps rippled through the crowd again, whispers breaking like waves. Some guests nodded, others covered their mouths, all of them glued to the spectacle unraveling before them. Adam finally found his voice, but it cracked under the weight of the moment. "Evelyn, please, don't do this. You don't have to humiliate yourself like this. Let's talk about this later. Privately. Privately." I repeated, my tone sharp as glass. I turned to him fully now, my eyes burning into his. "You've been keeping things private for months, Adam. Sneaking around. Lying. Whispering in shadows. And now, when the truth is laid bare for everyone to see, you want to hide again?" "No." I shook my head slowly. "Not this time. If you were bold enough to betray me in the dark, then you'll face the consequences in the light." His jaw tightened, his face flushed, but he couldn't argue. Lydia's hands trembled now, and I caught it. She clutched her dress, her knuckles white, her eyes darting between me and the guests, as though searching for an escape. But there was none. I lowered my bouquet, letting it hang loosely at my side. My voice softened, but it cut deeper than any shout could. "You thought you were exposing me today, Lydia. But what you didn't realize is that I already knew." The words cracked through the church like lightning. Murmurs erupted instantly. "She knew. What does she mean?" Lydia froze, her face draining of what little color was left. "You're lying," she whispered, but it was more to herself than to me. "I'm lying." I tilted my head, letting a slow smile spread across my lips. Then why don't you tell everyone about the night I followed Adam? About the messages I found on his phone? About the doctor's appointment you tried to hide? Her eyes widened in shock, her mouth opening soundlessly. A collective gasp ran through the pews. People shifted, whispering fiercely now, their eyes snapping between us. Adam's face turned to stone. His breathing grew heavy, his hands curling into fists at his sides. "Evelyn," his voice cracked. "You don't know what you're saying." "Oh, I know exactly what I'm saying," I replied sharply. "You see, you thought I was blind. That I was so in love, so naive that I would never notice. But I noticed everything. The late-night texts. The sudden excuses. The way she avoided my eyes when she sat across from me at dinner." My voice shook, but I steadied it with every word. "Do you know how it feels to lie awake at night, wondering if the man you love is lying beside someone else? Do you know how it feels to smile through planning a wedding, all while your gut is screaming that everything is wrong? That's what you gave me, Adam. That's what you both gave me." Tears blurred my vision, but I refused to let them fall. Instead, I lifted my chin higher. Lydia stammered. You don't have proof." Another sharp laugh left me. "Proof? Oh, Lydia. Do you really think I'd walk into my own wedding without it?" The whispers turned into open murmurs now, voices rising, tension spilling over. People leaned forward, clutching their pearls, their hands, their hearts. My father finally stood from his seat, his voice thunderous. "Evelyn, if you've got something to say it now." His eyes were fiery, protective, demanding. I looked at him, then back at Lydia and Adam, letting the silence stretch for one long excruciating moment. My heart pounded in my chest, but I didn't falter. And then, slowly, deliberately, I reached into the bodice of my dress and pulled out a folded piece of paper. My hand trembled, but I held it high for everyone to see. Lydia's eyes widened. Adam's face turned ghostly pale. "You wanted to expose me today," I said softly, almost tenderly, my gaze burning into theirs. "But you never thought I'd come prepared to expose you." The church erupted in whispers, gasps, the sound of shock rippling like thunder through the crowd. Lydia stumbled back a step, her hand gripping Adam's arm for support. And me? For the first time all day, I felt calm. Steady. Because now the stage was mine. And the real show was about to begin. The folded paper trembled in my hand, but not from fear, from power. My heart pounded against my ribs as 200 eyes locked on me, waiting. The whispers rose and fell like a tide, but in the middle of that church, I was the only one who mattered. Lydia's face drained of color, her lips parting in panic. What is that?" I tilted my head, my voice calm but cutting. "Proof. The truth you thought you buried." Adam stepped forward, his voice desperate, his hands trembling. "Evelyn, please don't do this. Not here, not like this." "Not like this," I repeated, my words echoing across the church. "This is exactly the place. Exactly the moment. Because you two chose this stage for betrayal, and I'll use this same stage for the truth." Gasps rippled through the pews. My father leaned forward, my mother clutched her chest, and Noah shook with barely restrained rage. I unfolded the paper slowly, savoring the tension. My eyes skimmed the words I had memorized long before. The doctor's report. It wasn't dramatic. It was simple, clinical. But its meaning was devastating. I raised my voice, steady and clear. "This is Lydia's medical record. Dated 3 weeks ago. And according to this..." I paused, letting the crowd lean in, holding the silence until it was sharp as glass. "She isn't pregnant. She never was." The church exploded. Gasps, cries, whispers, voices rising like a storm. Some people stood from their seats, others clutched their pearls, jaws dropping in shock. Lydia stumbled back, her hand dropping from her stomach. "No, that's not." I cut her off sharply. "Enough lies. You stood here, clutching your belly, acting like you carried his child, when all you carried was your obsession. You wanted to break me, to humiliate me. But all you did was expose yourself." The murmurs grew louder. Guests shook their heads in disgust. Someone hissed, "Shameful." Another muttered, "What a wicked girl." Adam's face turned ashen. He stared at Lydia, his jaw slack, his hands trembling. You lied to me? His voice cracked, disbelief heavy in it. She reached for him desperately. Adam, please, I did it for us. I thought if she believed, if everyone believed, you'd choose me. That we could finally be free. Free. His voice thundered now, filled with fury and betrayal. You manipulated me. You used me, you dragged me into this mess. And for what? For this. He shook her off violently, stepping back as though her touch burned. I stood tall, my voice calm. That's the thing about lies, Lydia. They're heavy. And eventually, they crush the liar, not the person they were aimed at. Her face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks. She tried to reach for Adam again, but he backed away, shaking his head in disgust. The crowd was no longer on their side. People muttered, eyes filled with judgment. My father finally stood, his booming voice cutting through the chaos. This wedding is over. These two have disgraced this family, this sacred day, this church. But I raised my hand gently. No, Dad. Let me finish. The room stilled again. I looked at Adam, his shoulders hunched, his face buried in shame. You betrayed me, I said softly, my voice breaking but steady. You lied to me, to my family, to everyone here. And I would have spent years trying to fix something that was never real if she hadn't exposed it. So in a way, I let out a small bitter laugh. I should thank you both. Because today, you didn't destroy me, you freed me. Adam's lips trembled. Evelyn, please. I'll do anything. Just give me another chance. His eyes begged, but his voice was hollow. I shook my head slowly. You had your chance. And you wasted it in her arms. The room was so silent now that every word felt carved in stone. I turned toward Lydia, who stood trembling, broken, her makeup smeared, her lies shattered. And you? Once upon a time, you were my best friend. My sister in everything but blood. But today, you showed me the truth. You were never standing beside me. You were always waiting to take my place. Her sobs echoed against the walls, but I didn't falter. I faced the guests, my voice stronger now. So let this be a lesson, not just for me, but for everyone. Love without honesty is nothing. Friendship without loyalty is poison. And lies? I held up the paper one last time before letting it flutter to the floor. Lies always find their way into the light. Applause broke out, not the joyful kind meant for a wedding, but the fierce kind meant for victory. People clapped, some even stood, their eyes filled with admiration. My mother's face shone with tears, but she was smiling. Noah finally stopped fighting, his chest heaving with pride. I placed my bouquet gently on the altar, straightened my veil, and took one last look at the man who was supposed to be my husband and the woman who was supposed to be my sister. They looked small now, shattered, diminished, exposed. Then I turned, and with every step I took down the aisle, the applause grew louder. I walked not as a bride, but as a woman who refused to be broken. When I reached the doors, I paused, glanced back once, and spoke the final words they would ever hear from me. You wanted me weak. But today, I walk away stronger. And you'll both live with the ruins you created. The doors opened, the sunlight poured in, and I stepped into a new life without them.